What makes a great city, and how does Aurora fit into that vision?
I think a great city has something that's really, or one or more things that really identify with the city. I think for the city of Aurora, for me, it's really the cultural diversity of the city. That it is the most diverse city in the state of Colorado, and one of the most diverse in the country. And it's really a welcoming city to all that call it home.
Yeah, great. And then with that diversity, especially with the recent and ongoing national spotlight, particularly with the what's happening with the immigrant and refugee communities, what do you want people to know? What's accurate, what might need some clarification.
Well, I think we're trying to trace the steps back and see what occurred, but there's no question that we had a problem in some of our apartment buildings with some of our recent arrivals who from Venezuela are good people, but unfortunately there's a criminal element that followed them, and wherever there's a concentration, I think we know now that whenever there's a concentration of individuals from Venezuela, new arrivals, there tends to be the criminal element that superimposes itself on them and exploits them. Much like I think some of the Italian immigration in early 20th century America had the same problem. So, but I think that it unfortunately fell into the narrative of the presidential campaign and was incredibly exploited. And I think that could very well do some economic harm to the city, not just now, but in years to come. And so it's our obligation and duty certainly to combat that, to say that wasn't true. It's not true. That certainly there was an element of truth there, but it was greatly exaggerated to where, we had a presidential candidate, now the president, saying that this entire city's overrun, this entire city's invaded, and all that couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. So with Operation Aurora,
well, I hope he doesn't choose that name. We'll see.
All right, so is that a good thing or not? Oh, you mentioned the criminal element, and I had heard previous comments of yours saying, it would be a good thing to take care of that criminal element. But what's
well,
the fear
I
with
think
the
there are two things. I mean, first of all, is that obviously we don't want criminals on our street, and certainly if they don't have the lawful right to be in this country, then we want them deported. But using the name, I think, just further cements this narrative, this false narrative about the city being overrun, by criminal elements, gang individuals, TDA gang members that are overrunning the city, and I think so that using that name will further harm the city in terms of its reputation.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you need to better govern to help with that element from the?
Well, I think we're looking into it right now, and we're trying to take the steps back and say, how do we get here? And unfortunately, I think one of the things that how we got here was that the mayor of Denver had reached out to me a while ago and said, can I use one of your hotels? And I said, because he was getting targeted by Governor Abbott of Texas, one of, I think, 4 or however many cities run by Democrat mayors that Governor Abbott had targeted in an effort, first of all, to relieve pressure on Texas for the waves of immigrants that were coming across. And then secondly, to put pressure on these Democrat mayors to go to President Biden and say, you've got to change policies at the border. We're really suffering from all this. So back to the hotel issue, he didn't tell me that he was going to push out everybody who was in the hotel out of the hotel. And it was an extended stay hotel. We're often working poor who can't get a normal lease stay. And so we really got a black eye over that. And so I just said no more. And so I think no other municipality agreed to help in the surrounding Denver metro area. So I think that, you know, obviously he was under a lot of pressure, but what he chose to do was to say this plausible deniability, say, I'm going to use these nonprofits, I'm going to use some nonprofits, and they will decide where to put them. So I'll contract with it. So it won't be me making the decision. They'll be making the decision. Well, we were never informed. And so they had a contract. So we're trying to still confirm some of the information, but what we believe is that they had a contract with an out-of-state slumlord who had several properties in Aurora, where all these problems occurred, and they just this nonprofit smelled some money, some quick money, and as well as the out-of-state slumlord, and they just packed him into these apartment buildings, and that's where all the problems were associated with are in those 3 apartment buildings, particularly the edge of Lowry, where you had the viral video again of the Venezuelan gang members. If they were, I believe that they were. It was confirmed that they were TDA gang members. That was just viral, national, and really became, I would say, became the defining narrative going into the 2024 November election.